Hello and welcome to those of you joining us on Lincolnshire Reporter. My name is Stefan Pidluzhny, and with me for the sixth in our series of live Facebook chats with the candidates standing in the Sleaford North Hykeham by-election is David Bishop from the Pass Elvis Party. Welcome, David.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Pass Elvis Party, what's all that about? Where did it come from?
Originally, years ago, I stood against some fundamentalist Christians in Brentwood, Essex, 2001. And they were mixed up with the local Tory party, so I decided to start a religious party to have a go at them. And I emailed the Church of Elvis in America, which based in Portland, Oregon, asking if I could stand for them in Brentwood, Essex, and they never got back to me. So I formed my own religious party called the Church of the Militant Elvis, which is registered with the Electoral Commission.
Is that different to Pass Elvis?
Well, it's slightly different because we originally campaigned on more religious things, like love New Labour as thyself, and love thine enemy except Cliff Richard. And we accused George W. Bush of being the Antichrist, Beelzebub. But since then, since the electoral rules have changed, you can have actually campaign groups now that are related to the main party. So although the Church of the Militant Elvis is the one that's registered with the Electoral Commission, I've got other Elvis-related parties like the Pass Elvis Party.
So where does the bus pass bit come in?
Well, I did that because if Elvis was still alive, he'd have a bus pass. Plus, I've got a bus.
So Elvis isn't alive, though?
No, he's dead. A lot of the people I know think he's alive, but I know he's dead. I've got his autopsy report, so I know he's dead. But, because I've got a bus pass as well, I thought that would be a good one to
combine the two.
Yeah, because about the OAPs and bus passes and rural bus services, it's a good combination.
Yeah. And what is the sort of fascination with Elvis from your perspective?
Well, in my perspective, when I was a teenager, 13, 14 years old, which was 1955, 56, it was the birth of rock and roll. Before then all we had was like waltzing and folk music and stuff like that, and suddenly rock and roll came along in 1955, 56 with Bill Haley and Little Richard and all that. And of course with Elvis as well, it was the one that all the guys, we all wanted to look like him, with the sideburns and all the curly lip and the attitude. That was what it was. Then you got the English rock and rollers like Cliff Richard coming in, and who was a big fan of Elvis, and you got Tommy Steele, but that's how it started off.
Yeah. Why are you standing in the by-election?
I've campaigned in Sleaford before. I was going to campaign in 2010 because they were going to build a giant factory farm in Nocton, a cart of cows, about 10,000 cows. So I did actually visit Nocton, and the plans were dropped, so I didn't stand. And then in 2014, they were going to build a giant chicken farm near Leasingham. And I came down again, and I was going to stand, and the plans were dropped for then, because I've always had a big thing about factory farms. I can't stand factory farms. So so I've been to Sleaford quite a few times. Plus, I think I said to you on the phone, 2012, I did a campaign to save the statue in Skegness. And
Skegness is a little bit out.
Well, it is, but I do realise
the same county.
Yeah, it's the same county, and a lot of people in Sleaford and Lincolnshire go to Skegness for their holidays. So I was very upset when there were plans by the council to get rid of the statue. So I mounted this Save the Jolly Fisherman art show in Nottingham, and the Mirror Skegness thanked me for it. So I've always had sort of an interest in this area. I've gone on holiday all my life to Ingermells and Skegness, so that's got a lot to do with it as well.
How many by-elections have you stood in?
Quite a few.
How many's quite a few?
I don't know, it must be 7 or 8.
Over
the years, I've stood in a couple of general elections, plus Brentwood was a general election. I stood in Corby for the Elvis Loves Pets party.
What sort of motivates you?
The issues what I stand on,
So what are the issues in Sleaford and North Hykeham?
Well, saving rural buses, which are being chopped, not just in Sleaford, in Lincolnshire, all over the place. And there's Save Public Lavatories. I've campaigned on that for years.
So to begin with, with rural buses, what would you do to save them?
I'd scrap the high-speed train for a start. I wouldn't spend £50 billion on a high-speed train.
So get rid of HS2 and use it on more sort of local services?
Absolutely, straight away. That's the first thing I'd do.
And what else?
I'd like to stop the council phasing out public lavatories. which is happening where I live in Nottingham, and it's happening all over the place. So I mean, the thing is about public lavatories, it's a health issue, and if you get caught urinating up an alleyway or something, you get a £80-100 fine, you get a criminal record, you get your name in the papers. And I don't think it's good enough for the council to tell people that, to use the local pubs, and that use that as an excuse, or go to the local supermarket, which is what's happened in Nottingham. I mean, where I live, they've just built a brand new bus station in Beeston, which has cost about £150 million. They've knocked the old bus station down, plus the toilet. Spent £150 million on a new bus station and no toilet, and they've told the locals go in the local pub or use the Tesco, which is, in my opinion, is not good enough.
So we've got public transport and public toilets. What other issues are there?
Banning air guns. I don't like air guns.
Air
guns, but I think they should either be banned or people should have a licence, because every day I pick up the papers and I see pets being shot, cats, dogs. Plus the fact I've been shot in Nottingham in the back by an air gun. 2 guys, young lads, shot me in the back with an air gun.
When was this?
About 7 or 8 years. Longer than that.
Yeah.
14-year-old lads. I was walking down the road where I live, felt something in my back, stinging. It was a guy shooting at me. And of course, if that goes in your eye,
it's very dangerous, yeah.
You're blinded. I mean, I think recently somebody died because of an air gun, a young kid. So no, I'd either ban them or at least have a licence, because now you can just walk in a shop and buy them. It's dead easy.
What have you made of the situation at Grantham A&E?
To be honest with you, I haven't campaigned on the NHS. And
is there a reason for that? Do you believe in the NHS?
I won't privatise it. I don't like seeing it privatised.
So you do support the NHS?
Oh God, absolutely, yeah.
Why aren't you campaigning on it then? Because obviously Grantham A&E is a massive issue for the people in the constituency. Because
other campaigners are already doing that. There's a independent Mary Stock, she's already campaigning. The Labour Party is campaigning on it. I can't campaign on everything. I mean, I'm not campaigning on Brexit.
How did you vote in the EU referendum?
I voted to stay in.
Why was that?
Originally, I voted to leave in 1970s, not to go in the first place. I originally voted not to go in the first place, but recently, after some consideration, and I can see both sides of it, I know one of the Green candidates in Nottingham, and they said to me, if we come out of the EU, all the pollution laws on the environment, on water pollution that the EU have brought in and regulate, like air pollution as well. Okay. They'll be scrapped. They'll be scrapped by if that's what they were worried about. That's why I voted. That was the main reason I voted to stay in.
Now, obviously you mentioned the buses, and what about other public transport such as trains? Obviously, today there's a report that train fares are going to increase in the new year. What would you like to see done, sort of on our rail network? A cap on it.
The train services, they keep putting the price.
Well, that costs a lot of money though.
Well, they've spent billions already on the high-speed train, just researching it, haven't they, and messing around. I must admit, I'm sticking to more or less the buses if I can. But I just think that the money in this country that's been spent on things like the high-speed train, and they're thinking about extending the 3rd runway at Heathrow Airport. I think the money should be used on services like what most people use. I mean, the high-speed train, for a start, is going to be very expensive. I mean, I spoke to our local MP in Nottingham, Anna Soubry, about it, and I said to her, all this PR about the high-speed train, can you tell me how much the ticket's going to be? She said, very expensive. So most people aren't going to be able to use that. They're going to be I just think the money should be diverted to local train services.
Sure. Going back to buses then, as it seems a sort of very, obviously bus Pass Elvis, you aren't called that for no reason. Yeah. What sort of investments are we talking about in rural bus services? What would you like to see? How many more? How much investment? How much money would you like to be spent on them?
Well, I've just said I'd just like to see all that money that's being planned to spend on the high-speed train diverted to them. It's not just in Lincolnshire, it's everywhere. Yeah. It's not just Lincoln. I mean, where I live in Nottingham, I'm okay in the city centre. But you get outside, I've just campaigned down in Oxford, it's just the same down there. They're scrapping school buses, cutting school buses, things like that, so it's everywhere.
Yeah. Were you down in Oxfordshire for the Whitney by
Yeah.
How do you think Whitney's different to Sleaford and North Hykeham?
The pub's more expensive.
The pubs are more, apart from the pubs then?
The pubs are much more expensive. Yeah, it's much more prosperous there, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, Witney's very prosperous. You know, I went to a pub not in Witney, it was near Blenheim Palace, you know, £2 for half a Foster's.
Right,
Nearly had a heart attack. Don't get that down in Sleaford, thank goodness.
Yeah. What are your overall impressions of Sleaford and North Hykeham as a sort of place in a constituency?
Well, Sleaford's more run down than when I was last here 2 years ago, definitely.
Why do you think that
Well,
is?
there's more empty shops, some of the pubs have closed since I was last. That was only 2 years ago.
Why do you think that's the case?
I've no idea. But it's just, you know, like, maybe it's something to do with the out. I don't know if they were planning to build a giant Tesco. Maybe it's the out-of-town shopping centres, or people haven't got as much money. But I have noticed, and people have said to me that in Sleaford, actually. Somebody said to me last week, this is a dying town.
And what would you do, or what do you think would actually help?
Could legalise brothels. This is on my campaign thing, on my thing.
How would legalising brothels help?
Well, these empty pubs, you could turn them into legalised brothels.
So you support the making prostitution
Yeah,
legal?
yeah.
Why is that?
Because I think it'd be health. It's a safe check for the women. They can keep an eye on.
How important? Maybe I should rephrase the question. How important is this as an issue in Sleaford and North Hykeham?
Well, you just ask
compared maybe towards rural bus services.
Well, no, it's not as an important issue as rural bus services.
No.
But at the same time, you say, what would you do to improve maybe Sleaford? I thought, somebody said to me, well, there's all these empty pubs.
Was that the first thing that sort of came to mind?
No, I've already thought about that. We should change the name to, Sleaford.
Right. What do you think the people living there would think of that? In all seriousness?
A lot of people, and I'll tell you, I was in this pub the other day, and these guys were saying to me, I said, yeah, I'd legalise brothels with a 20% discount for old age pensioners. And they said, oh, yeah, mate, we'd go for that, we'd go for that. So
right.
I get men I'm talking about, by the way, not women.
Okay, yeah, sure. So when voters hear or see the name Bus Pass Elvis on the ballot, what do you think they think?
Who's that idiot?
Are you an idiot?
No, I wouldn't say I'm an idiot, but that's what people would say. I mean, people have already said that to me while I'm walking.
Do you think
around.
some people might think that you're wasting their time by standing?
Yeah, possibly, yeah.
What would you say back to them then?
What, they're wasting your vote? Well, I could say the last general election in Nottingham, I voted for the Green Party. And they got 1.5 million votes and they got 1 seat. So in 1 seat, you could say I wasted my vote. And if there's a general election next year and Theresa May calls an election, say in spring, and if I live in Nottingham, I shall vote for the Green Party again, knowing full well that my vote is going to be wasted. I know that already.
So you're Green Party supporters? I
am in Nottingham, yeah. I vote for them. I mean, if I was standing there myself...
Why do you vote Green?
Sorry?
Why do you vote Green?
Because I support most of the... I've got an Elvis Turns Green Party as well. That's registered with the Electoral Commission. They've stood, actually.
So that's when the bus passes, sort of, yeah?
No, the friend of mine who does my nominating officer, he stood for the Elvis Turns Green Party in Nottingham about 4 years ago. He got about 250 votes.
Right. How many votes do you expect in this by-election?
Couldn't say.
Tens, hundreds, thousands?
No idea.
Well, we haven't got too long.
I don't like predicting.
Well, we haven't got too long to wait now.
I'd like to save my deposit as well as saving rural buses.
Of course, yeah. And of course, the by-election takes place next Thursday. Well, thanks a lot for joining us, David. It's certainly been interesting, and thank you to all those watching. We've got Jim Clark from Labour, we've got Paul Coyne, another independent, and we've got Marianne Overton from the Lincolnshire